House Concurrent Resolution 242 honors one of our nation's oldest and most esteemed civil rights organizations, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, known as the NAACP, also known as the conscience of the United States Congress. This year, the NAACP celebrates its 101st anniversary and its ongoing efforts to promote justice and equality for all Americans, not just Americans of color, but all Americans. I salute the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Green, the sponsor of today's resolution, and the former president of the Houston branch of the NAACP for his continued commitment to recognizing the NAACP for its historical and contemporary civil rights contributions. As we celebrate the nation's preeminent civil rights organizations on this its 101st anniversary, I'd like to reflect on a few bits of history concerning the NAACP. First, acknowledging its history, which began February 12, 1909, when the organization was formed by Ida Wells-Barnett, W.E.B. DuBois, Henry Moscowitz, Mary White Ovington, Oswald Garrison Villiard, and William English Walling, a biracial group that consisted of Christians and Jews. It is a history that includes some of the most significant moments in our nation's great story, where we've come to a more perfect union. The 1954 case of Brown versus Board of Education of Topeka, the great landmark Supreme Court case that ended the separate but equal fallacies that our government and laws labored under since Plessy v. Ferguson. The Chief Counsel, Thurgood Marshall, later one of the great justices of our Supreme Court. The NAACP's contributions also have included support for and rallying and lobbying for the 1957, 1960, and 1964 Civil Rights Acts, the 1965 Voting Rights Act, and the 1968 Fair Housing Act, where Clarence Mitchell led the way with the NAACP, and of course the court case that the NAACP was involved in, Loving versus Virginia, that turned over the miscegenation laws in this country in 1967, an aberrant set of laws that are precursors to other laws that still are in debate in this nation today. But the fight didn't end there, which brings me to my second point. Today we're reminded of the NAACP's mission to ensure equality of rights of all persons, eliminate racial hatred and racial discrimination. It's as important as relevant as it was decades ago. Just this year, a hate crimes law was passed that assured that there was not discrimination based on race, religion, gender, sexual orientation, or other distinguishing characteristics, and the NAACP was there in great support. The NAACP is engaged in battles on multiple fronts on its 101st anniversary. Its dedicated team is leading the charge in addressing issues that disproportionately impact communities of color. The NAACP advocates for equality in education, influences the debate on environmental justice, works to end disparities in the criminal justice system, racial profiling, and other type injustices, and looks for equity and equality regardless of the issue for all Americans. In addition, the NAACP is working to prevent families from losing their piece of the American dream during this housing crisis by working with financial institutions to change the mortgage lending practices that help bring on this crisis. Parties to a lawsuit against Wells Fargo in Baltimore County, Maryland, and also in my hometown of Memphis, Tennessee. Improving fair credit access, supporting sustainable home ownership, and promoting financial literacy for disadvantaged communities are among the great priorities. The NAACP was supportive of the resolution that the 110th Congress passed to, for the first time in our nation's history, apologize for slavery and Jim Crow laws, and to make clear that the vestiges of Jim Crow and slavery would be affected by the future Congresses. Today's commemoration of the NAACP's 101st anniversary occurs as the organization prepares for its convention, One Nation, One Dream, the title, to be held in Kansas City, Missouri on July 10 through July 15. At that time, hundreds of NAACP leaders and members will consider bold and innovative approaches to tackling the challenges we face in the 21st century. Among those leaders will be Benjamin Todd Jellis, the president of the NAACP, the current chairman Rosalind Brock, former Chairman Julian Bond, Washington Bureau Director Hillary Shelton, and Detroit Branch President Wendell Anthony. All have exhibited fearless dedication to build on the NAACP's great legacy. This is a legacy that includes many great heroes that we know. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., a bust is in our Capitol Rotunda. Coretta Scott King, his widow, Rosa Parks, Medgar Evers, Benjamin Hooks, and many others. And I must mention some people from my hometown of Memphis, great leaders Vasco and Maxine Smith, Jesse Turner Sr. and Jr., Russell Sugarman, A.W. Willis, Johnny Turner, and others. Their unwavering commitment to protect and promote civil rights for all Americans is a proud tradition that the NAACP continues today. I'm a life member of the NAACP and proud of it. I encourage others to support the NAACP in their efforts to make the American dream true for all. I congratulate the NAACP on its 101st milestone, and I urge my colleagues to support this important resolution and reserve the balance of my time.
The gentleman reserves the balance